Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Cedarville Stories podcast. I'm Mark Weinstein, and joining me today on the program is Diana Ivanikhina, a member of Cedarville's women's tennis program, who brings an interesting story to our conversation. Diana is originally from Tajikistan, and she's a self-taught tennis player who has excelled for the Yellow Jackets. We'll talk about how she taught herself to play tennis as a young orphan in her homeland and how this has led her to receiving an athletic scholarship in college. I'm sure you're going to enjoy my conversation with Diana this week on the Cedarville Stories podcast. Diana, there are many directions we can go at the start of this podcast, but I know at the heart of your life is your faith in Jesus. That's central to who you are and what we're about here at Cedarville University. So let's start there. And can you share with us how and when you first met Jesus and accepted him as your Savior?
So I did not grow up in a Christian family. My dad was Muslim, and my mom was never fully Christian, but never fully Muslim. She was believing in Jesus, but not really living according to the Bible. Okay. And when I was 9, me and my brother, my mom lost her job, and me and my brother, we had to go to Christian house where there were Christian couple who would take care of the kids who has a difficult situation in life. So through my aunt, we found out about that house, and me and my brother, we had to go there because my mom lost her job and didn't have opportunity to take care of us. And so we moved there, and we found out about Christ there through the missionaries from Ukraine and from different countries who would come there and share the gospel with us, and through the couple there who would do Bible studies with us and share the gospel with us. Okay, so let's backtrack a little bit. So in terms of the fact that you and your brother were orphans, so to speak, living in a Christian children's home, what were the circumstances that led up, other than your mom losing her job? Where was your dad? What was your family situation that caused you to actually go to that children's home? My dad left us when I was a child. He would visit us once in a while, but I never felt like he is a family or he is a father to me. But you did know him? Yeah, I did know him till I was 8 or so, but he would just come visit and just be there, but like not really show any love or anything. So I don't really, if you ask me now, I don't really have anything that he gave me that I could remember of. And so my mom lost her job, and we had only one aunt, and she's a believer, praise God. And so she knew about the house where people kids could stay and find about the Lord and just get good education and raise up well. So through her, we went there, and we started going to school there with my brother, participating just in Bible studies in that house. And because we didn't have any other relatives who would take care of us, so we ended up going there, and I'm so thankful we went there. How long did you live there? I lived there about 5 years, and then I moved back to Dushanbe, to the capital. I was born in the capital, but then we moved to a town called Kulo, which is 2 hours away from Dushanbe, and I stayed there for 5 years. My brother stayed longer, but I moved back to the capital. Okay. So as I read your story, your mom passed away when you were 14, and it was unexpected. It was very much a surprise for your family. Did you remain in that children's home until you moved to the United States, or what? You just mentioned a little bit about that. So I stayed there until I was 16, and then I moved back to the capital and stayed there until I came to the States. At what age did you come to the United States? When I was 18. Okay, so you stayed in the capital for 2 years then? Yeah. Where did you stay? When I was 19, actually. Okay. Yeah, in January. Okay, so when you moved back to the capital city, did you live by yourself? Did you live with friends? Or what was going on there in your life? So when I moved back to capital when I was 16, for a while I lived with my aunt because, as I said, the tennis federation back home was supporting me. And so I could provide myself things, but just live with my aunt and her family. I lived there for a while, and then when they moved to Russia, my aunt and my uncle moved to Russia. So I stayed with just random friends all around the places. Okay. didn't really have like my own place to stay.
So as you got older, 16, 17, 18, 19 today, you've been able to more fully understand your story being given away basically by your family to the children's home. How did you handle that? Did you ask a lot of questions? Were you angry, or you just accepted that?
So when my mom passed away, very surprisingly, I had no idea at all, and nothing like close to that. Even I never thought about it. I was at the children's house, and she was in the capital. My mom was trying to find a job and make some money and take us back to live with her, obviously. Okay. But that didn't happen. She was living alone in one small room she was renting, but we could not live there because she couldn't take care of us.
Okay.
And when she passed away, I was like around 6 months or a year. I was just so angry at God first. So I was like, God, why did you do that to me? I'm just 14, and my mom was everything to me. Like, I was always with my mom. When I was at that children's house, I would call my mom minimum 20 times a day and would like know everything she's doing and know like everywhere she goes. Because when I was living with my mom, I was so connected to my mom. I was every time with her. No matter where she goes, I was with her. And it was a huge disappointment for me when she passed away. I was angry at everyone. I was angry at the Lord. I didn't know much about the Lord at that time. I knew some central things, important things, but I did not have a personal relationship with the Lord at that time. And I still was so angry at him. I said, Lord, you knew she's the most important person to me, and you take her away from me. Like, why? Why did you do that? And I was just so angry and didn't know what to do, and didn't want to do anything that's going on. Didn't want to go to school anymore. Didn't want to have any kind of fun with my friends or anything. It was the hardest time in my life.
So you basically, the way you handled your anger was you withdrew. You withdrew from life, withdrew from friends. But how did you get through that difficulty? Yeah. Who helped you?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question, because as I started after that, I start building my relationship with the Lord. And as there was so many people who would come and talk to me and would explain me why did it happen possibly, and would just encourage me with biblical truth, I would start understanding it more and more. And which is more important, the Lord himself would reveal himself too much for me that I could see. And I would start like saying, yes, Lord, I want to hear you. I want to hear what you're saying about this. And I think after that situation, that's where he really brought me close to him and told me that I'm here for you, like earthly parents are very important, but there's something much more important than that, and it's me. Yeah. And that's where I realized that Lord is everything I need, even though it was so hard to let it go. But Lord was helping me always, and he was sending people who would just encourage me so much and tell me biblical truth that I would so agree with. And that's how I went. I went through this situation, and I came so close to the Lord because of that situation, and find out about him much more.
Okay, so I don't want to misquote scripture or take it out of context, right? That when you were talking about that, I could only think of the verse that all things work together for good to those who love God and called according to his purpose. Do you see, and this is maybe a difficult question, but do you see that the fact that the Lord taking your mom was actually good for you because it brought you to him? Is that a fair?
It is a really hard question for me to answer, but I am so confident to say yes, because if I would stay with my mom, I can't tell it if I would find out about the gospel and come to Christ, and I could never see my life turning in such a completely different way it is right now. Right. So it is a definitely yes question, but it is hard for me and to my soul to say yes, because I love my mom so much.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you don't love your mom.
Yeah.
But you actually, though, can see good that came from it. So let's slightly pivot in our conversation. You mentioned a few minutes ago about tennis. So I want to go down toward tennis. And I read a story that was written by Ben Konich from Cedarville's Public Relations Department. And in the story, from my understanding, is that you like tennis. You didn't have great coaching in tennis, so you turned to YouTube to learn how to play tennis. So how was YouTube able to help you become a stronger player, a player who now competes at the NCAA Division II level? Mm-hmm. Actually, you even competed at the Division I level before coming here.
So how I learned playing tennis is I started when I was living in that house. So I started participating in tennis lessons, and I like it so much. But coach there, he was not like a professional player or anything. He just loved the sport too, and he didn't know many things about that. But I'm still so thankful for him because he just gave me the racket and allowed me to play on the court and meet with others and play. So I started playing tennis, and I did not see any like good results, but I was like, I want to get good at this sport. Like, I really love it, and I want to compete like in a high level and do good things. Yeah. And then I started watching YouTube videos, and I still remember the channel that it called. It was in Russian, obviously, but it was called Berezovsky Tennis. And I would watch every single video that young man would post about tennis, how to hold the racket, how to hit like specific shots, how to make it, and how to practice, how to improve. And I would just watch that video, grab the basket of balls, go to the court, and just work by myself. Like all my summer, I would spend on tennis courts because I had nothing to do. Evening, morning, like I was all day. How many
hours a day?
Like more than 6 hours, definitely just playing tennis. Like,
every day?
Yeah. Beside conditioning and running and doing exercises to get stronger and stuff. Like I would practice, so because back home is very hot, I would start at like 4:50, 5 a.m. till 8 a.m. And then I would eat something, take a break, do some conditioning and stuff. And then I would do lunchtime, like 2 till 3:30 by myself, just working on my serve. Again, watching video, repeating how they do. Sometimes it didn't like end up well. I'm trying to repeat how they show it, but it doesn't work. Right. And like, well, why it's not working? Like, seems like I'm doing correct. But then when I actually got somebody like to coach me, was in the States, I realized that it's so much easier when somebody actually showing you how to do it. But anyway, I started watching videos and playing back home by myself, like just all day on the court, because courts was free for me to use, which I'm so thankful for that. But I would watch, so 2 till 3:30 would play, and then take break again, and then 4 to 6 with my friends I would hit a little bit, and then after that I would still stay and work more because I really wanted to get good at this sport. And you have so when you think, this may be difficult for you to answer as well, but when you think of your tennis game or just tennis in general, what do you like most about tennis, and then what part of the game do you think you're strongest in? So I'll say the strongest part of my game, my forehand. I love it so much because I like to hit strong and hard. I love about that. But about tennis, I think I just have such a love for that game from like my childhood, and my just striving to be good at this sport made me to love so much. And the other thing is, God used tennis in my life in such a great way that now I'm here competing for the university that I could never imagine I ever be, or like I could never imagine myself playing tennis in the States for the university, but God.
But God, that's a great way to say it. So let's backtrack just a little again. So obviously you got better in tennis as you followed and watched these YouTube videos. So as your skills increased, so did the opportunities for you to play competitively in Tajikistan Tennis Federation, and you won tournaments, you won international tournaments. But 1 year later, and you were sponsored by somebody or by the federation. 1 year later, you lost your sponsorship and again found yourself homeless and needing support for yourself. How were you able to support yourself even day to day? And where was your brother at this time as well?
So my brother was still at that house. He was going to high school and was living there. But when Tennis Federation they support me a lot. I'm so thankful for them, and for each coach that allow me to, even though they didn't coach me personally, they allow me to come and participate in their group lessons, which was so much fun playing
Yeah.
with the players. And
Yeah.
they would encourage me, give me like some encouragements and good words, but I didn't experience like them like individually coaching me, which was fine because I didn't have money to pay them.
Right.
So they didn't have to do it with me, but still thankful for each of them.
Yeah.
But when they stopped supporting me financially, I didn't have finances to provide myself things, and I still could ask some friends from church sometimes, or just some coaches to like if they would help me financially, which I'm so thankful they did sometimes. But I find the opportunity to start coaching, which worked very well. Like kids would like to come and take lessons from me, and even older people would like to play with me and just sparring and stuff. So I started coaching, and that's how I would make some money and provide myself things.
Okay. So very probably a short answer here is, so when you look back at your tennis career before YouTube compared to after YouTube, did you see improvement and growth in your skill set?
Oh yeah, 100%. And the other part of my improvement was so many international tournaments where I would go and just nonstop watch coaches teaching their students and kind of steal what they're doing to myself. And sometimes the coaches would be so friendly that I would go and ask them, hey, can you tell me how to do this? Like I'm struggling to do this. Or they would put me to sparring with their students.
Sure.
And as they teaching their students, I would take it to myself too and make a note. And so I'm so thankful for that. But I'm really happy how God just used the tennis in my life and like told me how in the level I am right now. And all the people that were there and all the people who just allow me to use courts freely, because courts like you have to pay, and the administration of the tennis courts allow me to use them for free. That was a huge help, because if I would spend all day on a court, like so much money, and I did not have any of that, and they allow me to use it for free. So that was a big part of my improvement in my tennis skills.
So I'm going to pivot to a question I hadn't even thought about until just now. To me, you sound like an entrepreneur, like you make things happen. And you sound like a teacher because you self-taught yourself how to teach play tennis. What are your career aspirations? What do you want to do after you graduate from college?
So first of all, what I want to do, and I really feel such a strong call from the Lord, I want to do missions. I want to go to Muslim countries, because Muslim people are my people and I love them so much, and I want them to find out about Jesus as Savior and the only way. And I want to do missions for the rest of my life, long-term mission, short-term mission, for however long Lord calls me to do it. And I really feel really strong my call to be missionary. Okay.
When's the last time you've been back to Tajikistan?
Just before I came. I never went back.
Okay. Let's move the story forward. It's about time that you're going to meet David McKee, a U.S. businessman in the international agricultural business. And this relationship with David and you changed everything really in your life post-Christianity. What changed?
So when I met David McKee, he came back home to tennis courts. And
in Tajikistan?
Yep, in Tajikistan, in Dushanbe.
Okay.
I was there coaching my student, teaching my students. And then after that, he came to me after I finished my session. He came and he asked me if I could play with him. And I said, yeah, I'm happy to play with you. And I started playing with him. And he was super friendly, super nice to me, super kind, and was smiling like most Americans do.
Yeah, really?
Yeah. And then he asked me why I'm coaching like in such a young age. And I told him part of my story why I'm coaching.
Yeah.
I told him I lost my parents and God gave me this talent of playing tennis and be able to teach tennis. So I'm using it to provide myself stuff. And he was sorry to hear my story, and he was at the same time impressed that I'm doing this in a young age. And so after our tennis session, I invited him to our church. We had the Easter service next Sunday, he came to our church. He met my youth pastor, and he was just glad to be there. He enjoyed the service. After that, we got a brunch and stuff, and he was just super friendly to me. And we played about like every other day for a couple of weeks, as I remember. And after that, when we played last time, after we finished our session, he's like, "What's your biggest goal? What you trying to achieve in your life? What do you want to do?" And I said, my biggest dream is I want to study in the States. I want to get my education. I want to work with people with disabilities and share the gospel with all the possible people I could meet and just share the gospel around the world.
Yeah.
And he said, that's very impressive. I said, well, that's not from me. That's from the Lord. That's why it's impressive. There's nothing impressive from me, you know? And he said, well, I'll try to help you to get to the States. And I said, thank you so much. But then when I went back, when I went to bed, I prayed. I said, Lord, I know if you want to see me in the United States, you will, but not in such a crazy way. You know, I know this man for a couple of weeks, and he's trying to help me to get to the States. Just even knowing the prices for tickets to come here, and not saying about prices about like school or living here, it's like crazy. At least for back home, like it's such a big money. And he was always in touch with me after that. He was asking about like my papers, my school and everything. And he really got into looking for a school for me where I could play tennis and get like scholarships and just come and study. So
let me ask you a question. So he's the reason why you came to the United States. He's the one that used his connections initially at Bowling Green State University. So you came to the States and you enrolled at Bowling Green State University on an athletic scholarship, a tennis scholarship. What specifically did he do to really help make that become a reality? And did you think when he said all the things earlier that he was really going to be able to make this happen for you?
So, first question is, he did so many things. He spent so much of his time searching for universities because, as he said, he didn't have much experience doing that before.
Okay.
And he just spent so much time researching and finding answers for his questions. And financially, he just covered every possible thing that was there on the way of paperwork or like just anything. He covered all of it.
Okay.
And he told me to download my video of playing tennis on YouTube and just do all the paperwork. And obviously he covered all the financial part of it. And so coach from Bowling Green reached out to us and just was ready to accept me to a team and welcome me to the team. I believe it's all Lord's work through him. But secondly, he is one of the nicest person I ever seen, and just being friendly from first days made me, first of all, like believe in, people being so kind to me. Yeah. And just knowing his personality, like he's just such a nice person that I can see, such a loving person, caring person. And the fact that he was caring about the girl he just randomly met on tennis court and wanted to bring to the States just shows how much love he has and how much kindness he has.
So at Bowling Green, you weren't there a long time. You played one season for the Falcons, and then you transferred to Cedarville. Why did you want to transfer to Cedarville?
So originally, I did not want to transfer, but my contract with Bowling Green State University was for one semester, like originally. So we had the opportunity to either like keep looking for schools with Mr. David. Well, he was looking for a school. I did not know anything about that. Keep looking for a school or use this opportunity. Coach from Bowling Green State University said that I can come and he has a full scholarship for me for one semester. But after that, I will have to pay some, or he will help me to transfer to a good school. Okay. And Mr. David, we together thought it's a great opportunity to use and great start to go with. So we used the opportunity and I went to Bowling Green State University. And as the semester came to an end, I was looking to transfer to some school or keep staying in the States, but I will have to like pay some money. Right. So the church I was going when I was in Bowling Green was connected to Cedarville a lot. Like my pastor graduated, and so many people just love Cedarville so much, and their kids came here, and so that's how I heard about Cedarville and transfer here.
So when you heard about Cedarville and you looked into Cedarville, what attracted you to Cedarville?
First thing that I always say about Cedarville was the greatest thing is chapel every day. I just was imagining worshiping the Lord every day with 5,000-6,000 people. It was like crazy to me, and because being from Muslim country, we never did that as much. Like we had a home church where we would sit on the ground and just sing songs, like 10 people, but worship the Lord with 6,000 people in one place. And doing that every day, that was the best part. I said, Lord, this is the dream place to be for me. And knowing there's a Bible classes. And the other thing, when I heard first about Cedarville, is professor prays for you and pray before class, and just there's Bible classes, Bible education, biblical education. It was like, wow, that's the place I really want to be.
Did you look anywhere else?
I did not. There was some opportunities, but like they didn't work, that like they were ready to accept me and I was ready to go there or something like that. But the only options I had is stay in a Bowling Green and pay some money, which church back in Bowling Green was ready to help me, and in particular family I live with, Joe and Jane McKenna, they were so ready to help me to go and cover the financial part. But Cedarville obviously was a dream.
Well, we're thrilled you're here. So let's go back to Bowling Green, because there's an interesting story that you told me a few weeks ago, that it was how you found your church in Bowling Green and how you made it to your first service. So tell us how you found the church and then how you got to church. I'm really fascinated with that story.
Yeah. So when I came to the States, January 1st, 2023.
So 2 years ago. Okay.
2 years and 7 days.
Okay.
So,
well, at the time of this recording.
I Googled Baptist church near me. And I was like, in my mind, I was like, the first church that's coming up, I'm just walking there no matter how far it is, because I don't know nobody around. My coach is not around, and I can't ask for a ride anybody because I literally have no friends.
You don't know anybody?
No, anybody. Don't know like anyone there.
And you didn't speak English.
I didn't speak much English. I could introduce myself. I could tell what I'm doing here. And then the rest of the time, I would like use Google Translate or ask people to repeat what they mean and stuff. I was really bad.
Yeah.
So I'm Googling Baptist church near me. First church coming out, First Baptist Church. I was like, I'm going to this church, no matter how far it is.
How far
I'm
was
walking. It was 3-4 miles. So it took me, it was January 8th, Sunday, first Sunday of the year. I got up at 6 a.m. I was like, I'm going to start working in case I get lost, so I still have like extra time, because I was imagining myself walking to the service and like people already worshiping. That would be embarrassing. I didn't want to do that.
Want that.
I was like, I would come rather like hour early or so and be there, but like I would get early. Woke up 6 a.m., start walking. And how I did it, because I didn't have any internet on my phone, I was connected to school Wi-Fi. So I put it on the maps and I took screenshot of every single turn that was on the map and every single street, because I couldn't connect to the internet while I'm on my way. And I was looking at the photos. It's so cold. It's snow.
How cold was
freezing. I don't remember, but it was really covered so much.
And it was snowing.
It was so cold. And I started walking, but the joy I had inside was like nothing compared to what's going on around me.
It warmed your heart.
Yeah, it was so, I was like, oh, please, Lord, let me get there. Let me get to the right place and just worship you with. Even though I realized that I won't understand so many things that are going on, I knew I'm not going to get anything pastor is saying, but I was like, the fact that being there will just already warm my heart.
Yeah.
And so I walked. It took me like hour and a half, around 2 hours. I stepped into the church and I realized I just had a thought, and it wasn't from me. I said, that's the place I want to be. Like, I just had that thought. Yeah. And then people were so welcoming me. And the man came to me and he said, how did you get here? I said, I walked. And he's like, what? I said, I walked. And he said, how did you walk? And I said, it's okay for me. Like, back home we walk and stuff. And then I didn't know you guys don't walk in America. So
not so much.
Because I was walking like kind of, like way where cars go and stuff, because I couldn't find any other way.
Right.
And there was like snow on sidewalks and stuff. So I walked and car would pass me and I thought it's okay, but it's actually not. People think you're weird if you do that.
It's a little more dangerous to walk on the street than in a sidewalk.
Right. So, and he just asked me how I get here and I told him I walked, but he said, you don't have to walk back. I will give you a ride. And I was just so thankful. And that church became my family church that still I'm so connected to. And I live with a family from the church over breaks and stuff. So I'm so thankful for that.
And you've never had to walk since?
No. Praise God.
You have friends.
Even though my family that I live with sometimes make jokes. They're like, sometimes we should just let you walk so you remember old good days.
So my question is, okay, so it took you, how long did you say?
Hour and a half, around 2 hours. So.
Hour and a half, 2 hours. Mm-hmm. Now that you know like where they live and where the church is, you think you can make it in a shorter period of time?
Oh, I think I could because I had so many confusions because actually like it was, well, first of all, everything is completely different like back home. And sometimes even like remembering the names of the streets or like reading them, I had like look at my phone and look at my phone, is that correct? Right. And like all the turns and seeing how cars going, it was so confusing. Yeah. So I think now I can find a better way.
I bet you could.
Yeah.
Okay, Diana, we're near the end of the program. I want to ask you two more questions, and then we'll let you go to do what you need to do as a student here at Cedarville. So when you think back to your time at Cedarville as a student, how has the Cedarville experience met your personal, athletic, and spiritual expectations?
I would say 2 words. It's much more above my expectations. Like it's much better than I ever could expect. And it's like everything about the school is perfect. Like we say nothing is perfect, but I think Cedarville is perfect. Like it's just my understanding how much I love this place. It's like I always tell people that I never want to graduate. And I tell one more thing, I say, I always want to be freshman, knowing I have so much ahead of me. And I never want to leave this place.
You don't want to leave this place, but you said earlier that you want to be a missionary. So
right.
This is my last question. So how's it going to be? How do you anticipate it being when it's time for you to walk across that stage and earn your degree, knowing that, at least at this point in your plan, you're going back to your country and you're going to be a missionary?
Yeah, you're right, I guess. Well, it just how much I love Cedarville. Like, It just exaggeration, but that's just how much I love Cedarville and don't really want to, like, leave this place in a sense. Like, I would always be, like, studying. But I know Lord has a great plan for me, and He called me to do missions. So. You're
going to do well, and I'm sure our people who are listening and watching this program today feel the same way I do. You're just a delight to be with. You're fun. You're engaging. Your love for Jesus shows. And I'm really thrilled that you were willing to be a guest on the Cedarville Stories podcast. I wish you the best in your final 2.5 years at Cedarville, and make the most of it because you have a bright future as you follow Jesus. Thanks for joining me this week on the podcast.
Thank you so much. Praise God.
Thank you for listening to the Cedarville Stories podcast, brought to you by Cedarville University. Be sure to come back next week when we'll share another Cedarville story for God's glory.